I'm Tim Bird, the Byrdman, and this is Byrdman's Palm Beach. And we have a very special guest. I'll tell you about this gentleman sitting to my right, but first I want to tell you that Byrdman's Palm Beach is brought to you by our friends at Palm Beach Illustrated Magazine. They are the official magazine of Palm Beach Live, Work, Play, and this video podcast, birdmanspalmbeach.com. And for that sponsorship, we are very thankful and grateful. With me today is Tom Turner, former advertising person and author now of many, many books. Now, Tom, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
My question to you is, having come from advertising big agencies in New York City and Boston, Mass., and word is that you were quite a copywriter. So,
Well, I don't know about that. All I know is that they paid me $6,000 a year. And this was many, many years ago, but still, So, I gradually worked my way up to $7,000 a year.
Yeah.
And then $8,000. And, sky's the limit.
Yeah. Then New York probably was quadruple all that.
It was.
So, copywriting is always a good sign of a very creative and fertile mind. And so you had to have had all that in you, all those years writing copy. At what point did it occur to you, or did it come to you, that you might want to try writing a book? And then once you answer that question, I'm going to ask you about what the book would be about, and the books have been about. So what happened?
Well, I always wrote. I remember starting out in my high school newspaper, and they rejected my first article. They said, this isn't good enough. So back to the drawing board. And so anyway, I always wrote, and as a copywriter, I wrote on the side the great American novel.
Right.
And it took 30 years for me to finally get it published, because I was still a copywriter, and that was my primary function. That's what I did, and that's how I ate. So anyway, my first book actually was just published 6 years ago.
Really?
And it was called Palm Beach Nasty, and that was a title I always had in my head, and it not without controversy. Because I remember a woman friend said, "What's that about? Palm Beach Nasty?" I said, "I don't know. It came to me, and I decided that was the first one. After that is one called Palm Beach Poison, Palm Beach Deadly, Palm Beach Pretenders. The list goes on."
You were a little infatuated with Palm Beach, obviously.
Well, I was, and I also have two other series. Set in Charleston, South Carolina, and that first one is Killing Time in Charleston. The second one is Charleston Buzzkill. So, in other words, in all my books, I incorporate the name of the town.
Yeah,
and I have another series set in Savannah. And so
yeah, those are hot spots. Charleston,
exactly.
Savannah,
Exactly.
Palm Beach,
Right.
all in the great Southeast. And having come from, I guess, somewhere up in the Northeast. Where were you born and raised?
A little town in New Hampshire.
Okay.
Which I couldn't get away from fast enough. It was a population 800 then, and it's maybe 850 now.
Oh, slow on the up.
Yeah. And it's cold as hell, and I don't ski anymore, so I'm happy to be right here where I live.
All right. So, what inspired that first book? And the desire to write a book?
Well, the answer is that I felt I wasn't certain that I was a good enough writer, that I could just write something that didn't have big events in it.
Right.
And by big events, I mean murder. So I decided that I needed something that would grab readers'
Something
attentions,
with impact.
Yeah, with punch.
Yeah.
And subsequently, I've learned that I can write pretty well, and I don't really need murder. But I like murder. I like killing people.
Little taste will take you a long way.
Right.
So Palm Beach Taboo. So is this based loosely on your life or people you know, or is it all just fictitious and made up?
Well, there's always a grain of truth, and there's always a grain of autobiographical stuff in my books.
Right.
The protagonist, the hero, is not me. He's a guy I'd like to be me because he's handsome and he's smart and all these things that I've always wanted to be.
Well, you're a nice looking guy.
Well, you know what I mean. I mean, he's like matinee idol.
Yeah.
Handsome. But he's conflicted because he's got two women in Palm Beach, both of whom like him and are attracted to him. He can't make up his mind. Yeah, so he's got, I guess that's called a Hamlet complex.
I think so, yeah.
But I don't think I answered the question at all.
No, you didn't. But you gave me some good meat there. So let me ask you this: why the nasty and the taboo? The latest book is Palm Beach Taboo.
Right.
And by the way, that's available where?
It's all my books are available on Amazon.
Oh, good. Okay.
And that might be interesting for me to go into briefly. Is originally I was traditionally published, HarperCollins.
Yes.
And they did such a terrible job on the cover, and it just, they didn't promote it, and it just was not a good experience.
I get that.
So after that, I self-published and have done that ever since.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad I did, because the money's better. The problem is you have to work harder, because I need to do the marketing, I need to do the promotions.
We all have to work hard, yeah.
Well, but it's the whole, a publisher typically does a lot of that stuff. But now I need to do it all. I don't do it all. I have an assistant who does it. But,
you should.
So anyway.
So give us, our time is starting to get away from us a little bit. Give us the crux of what we can expect in Palm Beach Taboo.
Okay, Palm Beach Taboo is roughly it's about a cult. In fact, I was going to call it Palm Beach Cult, but I didn't like that as much as Palm Beach Taboo.
Sure.
And also, there's a scene in Palm Beach Taboo that takes place in the restaurant on Worth Avenue in Palm Beach, which is called Taboo.
Right.
So it's about a cult, and it's based on a cult in Albany, New York, which was run by a really bad guy. And as the story with most cults, it was really all about money and women.
For him.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But he cloaked it under the guise of it being, philanthropy and good deeds, but it was anything but. Wow. And now the guy's in prison for the rest of his life, which he deserves.
Wow.
So
the book is Palm Beach Taboo.
Palm Beach Taboo, number 10 in the series.
How many more Palm Beach books are you going to do?
50. I'm going to do them until the day I drop, and my mind's still working.
You said, before we leave, you have to tell me, you were a copywriter. Two of the most famous copywriters, James Patterson, you said.
James Patterson was creative director of a place called J. Walter Thompson.
Right.
F. Scott Fitzgerald was briefly a copywriter in Minneapolis. And one of his accounts was called the Muscatine Steam Company, and they did dry cleaning. And his famous quote was, "We keep you clean at Muscatine." and he got like $1 raise for that.
Well, I think that's
immortal line.
Yeah. So are you saying all copywriters are liars? No, I'm kidding. Careful now, you're an author now.
No comment.
Tom Turner. Wish we had more time, because we could really have a lot of fun, more fun.
Right.
His book is called Palm Beach Taboo, and we encourage you to get it from Amazon. And probably is going to be a great pool or beach read this summer, as you spend some days whiling away those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer. Well, that's good. Thank you so much for being on
Thank
Byrdman's
you.
Palm Beach
Thank
today.
you. It's been fun.
Yeah,
I wish that we had another hour.
Yeah, we will get together and do this again sometime.
Great. I'd love it.
Thank you again for watching. We also want to mention our sponsor one more time. It's Palm Beach Illustrated Magazine, the good folks over there. That magazine has been here over 65 years, and they are the folks who are the official magazine of Palm Beach Live, Work, Play, and Byrdman's Palm Beach. Until next time, I'm Tim Byrd, the Byrdman. Have a great week.